Good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Sunday, 6 July 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. United States trade policies are causing ripple effects across the globe, as President Trump's administration sets an August first deadline for trade deals, threatening tariffs on European goods if agreements are not met. Local U.S. government officials, however, continue to welcome Chinese investment projects, particularly in manufacturing. The U.S. is also engaged in trade talks with South Korea, focusing on big tech regulations and agriculture. The U.S. stock market is experiencing volatility, though strong jobs growth in June has led to record highs for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. WHAM payments firm Wise plc will incorporate in Jersey before a planned US listing. AstraZeneca is also considering a U.S. listing. Senator Graham stated that Medvedev's comments show Russia is not interested in peace. The global market is reacting to the uncertainty surrounding potential U.S. tariffs, putting pressure on the Australian and New Zealand dollars. Hong Kong stocks have also fallen. Crude oil prices fell after OPEC's decision to increase production, further pressured by signals of a delay on tariffs from US officials. Gold prices also dropped as safe haven demand dampened. Turning to Australia, shares remain steady as the market anticipates the Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA, rate decision, and the U.S. tariff deadline. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will address the Darwin port sale during his visit to China, discussing Chinese investment with President Xi Jinping. Australia is suing a China-backed firm over a rare earth stake, citing national security concerns. South32, an Australian company, is set to sell its Columbia nickel project for up to $100 million. Australian job advertisements have hit a one-year high. The RBA is expected to cut interest rates in July, which will impact Australian homeowners. In China, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will discuss Chinese investment with President Xi Jinping during his visit, addressing the Darwin port sale. Despite rising trade tensions, local U.S. government officials are still welcoming Chinese investment projects, particularly in manufacturing, according to the China General Chamber of Commerce branch in Chicago. OPEC agreed to raise production by 548,000 barrels per day in August, leading to a decline in crude oil prices due to concerns about oversupply. Indian stock benchmark started flat and experienced weekly losses. This was due to investor caution over trade developments, particularly the looming U.S. tariff deadline and the ban on Jane Street's operations. The gift nifty traded around 25,536 to 25,547, indicating a flat opening. The top 6 Indian companies saw a collective market valuation loss of 70,325.5 crore last week, with HDFC and ICICI banks showing the steepest declines, while Reliance Industries gained. Foreign investors were net buyers of Indian shares for the third consecutive month in June, focusing primarily on financial. Several Indian companies are experiencing significant activity across sectors. Godrej Consumer Products shares rose by 6% after a positive Q&A update, projecting highest single-digit growth in India and mid to high single-digit UVG for FY26. Its sector faces a tepid FY26, anticipating modest and uneven revenue growth due to flat demand and global uncertainty. MV, an Indian solar photovoltaic module maker, has filed for an IPO. FinServ aims to expand its customer base to 250 million. Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders is investing in Sri Lanka's Colombo dockyard. Birkenstock is actively fighting counterfeit products in India, conducting court-ordered factory visits. Market experts are offering stock recommendations. Damesh Shah of ICICI Securities suggests Titan and Nalco for short-term gains. Sumit Bagadia recommends Tega Industries, Aimco Elecon, India, Zoda Healthcare, Blue Jet Healthcare, and JG Chemicals as potential breakout stocks. Venugopal Manghat of HSBC Mutual Fund notes that Indian investors are increasingly recognizing the long-term potential of equity investing. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, has placed restrictions on Jane Street's operations in India, which could lead to a decline in options trading. Trade negotiations between India and the US are facing challenges with the impending deadline. Piyush Goyal has stated that free trade agreements, FTAs, will protect India's interests. MEX gold futures closed flat with a support price of 96,000 per 10 grams and a positive outlook. United States. The US is the source of the tariff deadline, causing concern in the Indian stock market. Trade talks between the US and India are experiencing difficulties as the deadline approaches. Sri Lanka. India's Mazagon Shipbuilders is investing in Sri Lanka's Colombo dockyard, providing a boost to the island nation's shipbuilding infrastructure. Israel. Indian equity benchmarks initially gained but pared those gains after Israel claimed that Iran had violated a ceasefire agreement, creating additional market uncertainty. China faces economic and environmental headwinds, with Premier Li Qiang emphasizing a shift towards domestic demand-driven growth. Investors are being urged to be cautious after a surge of interest in artificial intelligence. The country is also attempting to manage intense price competition in its electric vehicle sector. Responding to an EU ban, China is restricting government purchases of EU-made medical devices above 630 million. China's rare earth industry faces environmental scrutiny due to the health risks associated with contaminated sludge. Despite consumer hesitations, China's new Legoland resort near Shanghai opened to large crowds during a heat wave. China, operating KFC and Pizza Hut, is implementing AI, including the Q Smart Assistant, to boost efficiency and customer experience. China is exploring the integration of artificial intelligence within its expanded trade agreement with Australia. Saudi Arabia's economy is showing strong signs of growth, with the Tadawul All-Share Index rising by 0.63% to 11,315. The kingdom issued over 80,000 new commercial licenses in the second quarter, signaling a surge in business activity, and is actively attracting global talent through skill-based work permits. Several financial entities, including Emkan Finance and Tamwil Al-Ula, are exploring IPOs indicative of a thriving fintech sector. Startup Ninja recently secured SA 1 billion in funding data. The July SA Sukuk subscription opened with a 4.88% annual return. Saudi Aramco increased the August official selling price, ASP, for Arab Light crude for Asian market. The National Shipping Company of Saudi Arabia, Tadawul 4030, is currently undergoing financial analysis. The Saudi Public Investment Fund, PIF, has transitioned into a post-trillion phase, shifting its strategic emphasis from expanding its asset base to enhancing the quality and impact of its investments. As a major international donor, Saudi Arabia has provided assistance totaling SR $528 billion. The kingdom is also demonstrating a commitment to environmental preservation. The Royal Commission for Alula, RCU, and the Arabian Leopard Fund are collaborating with the Smithsonian Institution to protect the endangered Arabian leopard. Foreign investment activity in Saudi Arabia includes Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Group Inc.'s acquisition of 1790, shares of the iShares MSCI Saudi Arabia ETF, NYSERCA, RCI Worldwide and Inet are expanding their collaborative partnership to further stimulate fintech growth within the country. Saudi Arabia and Morocco are engaged in discussions regarding the establishment of a joint investment fund to bolster economic ties. South Korean special prosecutors have requested the detention of former President Yoon Suk-yeol on insurrection-related charges. The stock market has seen mixed activity, with shares remaining flat as traders closely monitor as tariffs. Energy Investment and Securities anticipate strong profits amid a surging stock market. In corporate news, APR stock has surged over 8% due to strong Q2 earnings forecasts, while Hanwha shares plunged 45% amid delisting fears and shareholder protests. LG Energy Solution projects a 152% year-on-year increase in Q2 profit. The government is set to distribute 150,000 cash handouts to South Koreans starting July 21. The Korea Land and Housing Corporation is recruiting 13,000 candidates for public rental and happy housing initiatives. South Korea's ranking as a top US import source has declined due to tariff pressures. In technological advancements, South Korea has developed the world's first recombinant anthrax vaccine, and the development of humanoid robots is accelerating, with expectations that they will become crucial for the battery industry. Telecom companies in South Korea have been fined 96.3 billion won for number portability collusion. Shifting focus to Alibaba, the company is expanding its presence in South Korea's B2B market by introducing trade assurance and increasing local support. United Kingdom. The UK's economic outlook is increasingly precarious, as evidenced by volatility in the gilt market. Business leaders are voicing apprehension regarding the Labour Party's policy proposals, struggling to find points of alignment. Conversely, UK construction firms view Labour's infrastructure upgrade plans for roads and railways favourably. Investment analysts are scrutinising UK equities, with particular attention to small-cap AIM shares offering growth opportunities, robust stocks suitable for bear markets, and dividend-yielding shares for passive income generation. Amidst escalating maritime threats, a UK military vessel was abandoned in the Red Sea following an assault involving explosive-laden drone boats. Russia and Ukraine are engaged in an ongoing exchange of drone attacks, leading to disruptions in air travel. Kyiv launched an offensive targeting a Russian airbase in response to Moscow's extensive drone bombardment of Ukrainian territory. Ukraine is bracing for a potential escalation of Russian military activity, evidenced by intensifying drone strikes targeting Moscow. The Russian military asserts that its forces have successfully captured 2 settlements within Ukraine, expanding their territorial control. Global economy. The price of gold is experiencing a downward trend, primarily attributed to advancements in international trade negotiations and the extension of tariff suspensions, creating an environment less conducive to safe haven assets. European financial markets presented a mixed picture, with banks achieving their strongest first-half performance since 1997, yet facing sustainability concerns due to expected interest rate decline. European stock markets generally closed lower, coinciding with the closure of New York markets for Independence Day. The European IPO market is feeling the pressure of tariffs and geopolitical tensions despite positive fund inflows. To address this, the EU pharma chief is championing the establishment of a European Nasdaq-style exchange to invigorate the biotech industry. Historically, July has often brought a summer rally for European stocks. Japan is grappling with a significant drop in real wages for May, marking the steepest decline in nearly 2 years amidst persistent inflation. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has vowed not to easily concede on tariffs in negotiations with Donald Trump. Despite these economic pressures, Japan's substantial $1.70 trillion fund is expanding its investments in environmental, social, and governance (ESG) initiatives, contrasting with a trend of reduced ESG investment elsewhere. Japan Elevator Service has also recently concluded a treasury share repurchase. Transitioning to resource management, Japan intends to initiate test mining of rare earth mud by early 2026. Enhancing its maritime security, Japan is set to export decommissioned destroyers to the Philippines, bolstering defenses against China and reshaping the regional maritime balance. Assessments suggest that Japan's ongoing monetary normalization does not pose a major threat to global financial stability. Several Asian nations are pursuing trade agreements with the United States, amidst signals of possible extensions from BESANT, reflecting a desire to enhance economic cooperation. Though Asian shares face pressure from impending U.S. tariffs implemented under the Trump administration, certain Asian businesses perceive opportunity. A major Asian warehouse firm, for example, expects to capitalize on the tariff situation. Moreover, Asia's presence is increasing in global wealth rankings, with 2 of the top 5 wealthiest self-made women in 2025 originating from Asia. South Africa is grappling with new allegations surrounding police conduct, even as the African Development Bank extends a $475 million loan to the nation. Meanwhile, in a story of empowerment, South Africa's first black female brewery owner is actively training a new generation, fostering innovation, and aiming to diversify the beer industry landscape. Taiwan is seeing increasing pressure to diversify business investments away from China. Meanwhile, Taiwan issued warnings for both maritime and land areas as Typhoon Dennis neared. The typhoon eventually made landfall in southern Taiwan, unleashing record-breaking winds and leaving hundreds injured. Thailand is actively working to prevent a potential 36% tariff by offering the United States enhanced trade concessions. In the latest from Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing increasing pressure to address rising inflation. The opposition is criticizing the government's spending policies. Meanwhile, Germany is grappling with a surge in energy prices. This increase is impacting both households and businesses. The government is considering additional measures to alleviate the financial burden. Shifting to Australia, the government has announced new investments in renewable energy projects. The goal is to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainable growth. Turning our attention to France, President Emmanuel Macron is working to mediate ongoing tensions between Russia and Ukraine. He is seeking a diplomatic solution to prevent further escalation. Brazil has seen a troubling rise in rain-related disasters, with occurrences tripling. The nation also recently hosted a BRICS summit, though notable leaders were absent. Turning to Canada, a new oil pipeline proposal is deemed highly likely to proceed, according to Carney. In China, new anti-dumping duties targeting European brandy unexpectedly benefited French cognac makers, who received exemptions from Beijing. Adding to this, a German pension fund with $40 billion in assets has allocated a mandate to a China stock fund. Mexico continues to provide vital support to Cuba, shipping oil and fuel to the island nation amidst its ongoing crisis. Egypt's non-oil private sector contracted in June, with the Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, dipping to 48.8, signaling a slowdown. French companies are looking to expand their presence in Malaysia, with planned investments totaling $947 million. Germany sees its financial institutions reaching across borders, as a pension fund with $40 billion in assets gives a mandate to a China stock fund. Amidst regional tensions, BRICS leaders condemned attacks on Iran and urged Israel to leave Gaza. Russia's Foreign Minister, Lavrov, met with Iran's Iraqi, reaffirming Russia's willingness to help resolve the conflict. Israel faces complex challenges as troubled Israel-Hamas talks will present difficulties to Trump's efforts to end the war. BRICS leaders also condemned attacks on Iran and urged Israel to withdraw from Gaza. Italy's bridge to nowhere serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the potential risks associated with defense-related economic booms. Chevron Corporation is among the contenders for Libya's inaugural oil and gas exploration tender, marking a significant development in the country's energy sector. Malaysia is attracting significant foreign investment, with French companies seeking to invest $947 million. Furthermore, Tenaga EB is launching structured warrants linked to Hang Seng indices on Bursa Malaysia. Mexico's continued oil shipments to Cuba underscore the nation's commitment to supporting its Caribbean neighbor during a period of crisis. Moldova sees political tensions rising as the pro-Russian bloc victory aims to seize power. Oman's banking sector is showing positive signs, with credit experiencing a healthy 8% increase. At a recent BRICS meeting, Indian Prime Minister Modi directly addressed Pakistan, adding a layer of complexity to regional relations. Russia reported intercepting a significant number of Ukrainian drones, claiming to have downed 120 overnight, according to the Defense Ministry. Additionally, 6 Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow were also reportedly downed. Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov met with Iran's Araki, reiterating an offer to help resolve the conflict. Singapore's affluence continues to drive luxury markets, with the city-state's 240,000 millionaires fueling spending on high-end brands. In addition, Singapore is exploring the integration of more traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, therapies into its public healthcare system. The United States anticipates progress on trade agreements, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent expecting deals by this week's deadline, and potential extensions until August 1 for some countries. Chevron Corporation is vying for Libya's first oil and gas exploration tender. Troubled Israel-Hamas talks will present challenges to Trump's efforts to end the war. Ukraine was the source of drone attacks, with Russia reporting downing 120 Ukrainian drones overnight, according to the Defense Ministry. 6 Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow were also reportedly downed. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.